Welcome to Gray Overload. I'm Anthony. I'm excited to review this MSI x399 Gaming Pro Carbon AC motherboard. It's been pretty good for me to the past few weeks, so let's dive in. The MSI board I've been very impressed with here. I was using the Corsair Hero 6 board, and that board was very well with that AM4 socket Ryzen 1800X. I sold those boards to my friend, very thankful that he was able to buy those and willing to buy those as well. But then I decided to upgrade to this MSI board. And one reason why I went with the MSI one was, first off, it was an ATX size, and I got that Crosshair 570X case, that crystal case, and this board was the ATX, so it fit in there just fine, or it was supposed to fit in there just fine. And then I also wanted to try out some of the MSI stuff. It's been about a decade since I bought MSI board, and I've heard a lot of good things about them lately, and especially with some of the things that they did with the AM4 socket, I heard good things about. So I'm like, okay, let me go test this out and see how well the board is. So I picked up this board, and quite reasonable price, I thought, especially because when you're putting a huge socket on here with all those pins on it, I thought the boards would be way more expensive, because it was, you have 4,000 pins there. But with how everything's constructed, it went pretty well, and I was very impressed with the price overall. So a few things though, once you go to install this board, were quite interesting to me. Is because I have an all-in-one, and I had it mounted to the top, right? So air in, out the top, right? That's how I had it set up. Except, no, won't work, because you got your VRM heatsink right up on top here, if you can see that. And that guy is quite thick, so he stands up a lot. And the way this case is designed, and I don't know if it's just the case and the all-in-one and the motherboard in combination, that's it, but something to keep in mind if your cases might have the same clearance issues is I could not fit the board in and have the cooler on at the same time. Didn't work. So I had to mount it to the front, and a lot of cases now have a nice easy mounting ability to that front of the board. So that's just something to keep in mind as you go forward, because you don't want to be stuck where you have a case and you don't have anywhere to mount that all-in-one. Let's say you're using all-in-one and you're stuck there. So, and you're probably going to use at least an all-in-one with Threadripper. You can try fans. If they work, let me know. I kind of want to try them as well. I know there's a couple models out there, but it's a big processor, 180 watts. You need some cooling, so I use an all-in-one. I may go to custom loop, which might alleviate all of this, and this point may be mute in a months later once I get the full cooling loop, but we'll see where that goes. But to stick with the board and building it a little bit, just so you know that you only have 2 USB headers on the bottom. I don't know how many people use those 2 USB 2 headers as well. You have also 2 USB 3.1s as well. But kind of some of the header stuff is that if you have an all-in-one that plugs into USB, then you're also going to use the Wi-Fi. That's both of them right there. If you have anything else, they won't be those two. So that's just something to keep in mind. The wireless works quite well. I'm going to get to a little bit more about some of the software side of that wireless in a second, but the wireless works pretty well. You have 2 X/1 slots PCIe. You have 3 M2 slot, 3 M.2 slots for right here. 1, 2, 3 in between the PCI slots here. You have your 4 X/16s. You got 8 RAM sockets. Supports 4-way SLI and 4-way Crossfire. Quad, like I said, the 8 slots of RAM, quad channel as well, if I didn't mention that. And then you have 3 USB 3.1 Gen 2, and 12 USB 3.1 Gen 1, and 6 USB 2.0. And so that's all the ports you have. You also have a gigabit LAN, which, some other boards though were coming with Wi-Fi and 10 gigabit Ethernet. I kind of wish I'd like to see that as well. And then, with this wireless card though, it's AC. I think it's a 2x2 antenna, and it's AC with Bluetooth 4.2. So if you like the Bluetooth side of it as well. You know, let's say you have an Xbox controller or a different type of controller as well that connects to Bluetooth. Great option here that they included that. And then also an 8-channel audio. And, you know, kind of a little layout of the ports in the back there if you can see it. They got a lot of ports overall. I mean, a lot of USB. They have some that are, they say, dedicated to VR. And I'm excited to kind of test it out. Hopefully I can get a VR kit here in hopefully sometime. We'll see about how that goes. But it's overall quite well. They got a lot of ports, a lot of stuff, and it worked out quite well so far as I've been using this board. And it's connected to here, otherwise I would be showing it to you. But been quite impressed. Now getting back to some of the software parts of it. First off, make sure you update the BIOS to the latest BIOS. And I had to jump to the latest one, which was released on 8/30 of this year, 2017, so August 30th. And that one includes a fix for virtualization. So I couldn't enable virtualization until I got that BIOS. Once I did, I was able to enable it, and it all worked. I'm using the 1950X Threadripper CPU, so with more cores, I want to be able to run virtualizations. And when I didn't have it, I was kind of disappointed. I almost returned the board because of it, and looked on some one of their forums, and they said that they were coming up with it because, yeah, I wasn't going to buy a huge processor with all of the cores and threads just to not sit there and not do much with it. So virtualization was one of the things that I want to do with it. So they enabled that. Make sure you get that. Also make sure you get the latest wireless drivers. I went and I got them off of Windows Update through the device manager, and it worked. I was having problems doing remote desktop over the wireless card with those drivers until I updated them. It was crashing before. After the update, no more crashing. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. And hopefully, if let's say you get it after the False Creators update, maybe the Windows does a little bit better job here on getting those better drivers to you faster, so you don't have those issues. But overall, it kind of, with the personalization of it, you can do a lot with the Mystic Lights. Get the, you know, whatever color you want. Mine's green. Mine's set up with, I have the green fans. If anyone knows how to connect that to the Corsair controller as well, that'd be great to know. But right now they're not connected, but they're both green until my son comes in here, and then he presses the buttons and he changes to what he wants it to be. But the motherboard will stay to what I want it to be because he can't change that. But my kids also wanted me to change these little, let's see if you can see that, the Gaming Pro and the MSI slot. Those actually come out, and you can get them in, I'm trying to see here, I don't have it here, but they come off, and you go look at my open box and you kind of see it there, is that they go in silver and gold as well. I think my kids wanted silver, so I switched it to them. They seem like they're going to snap off. So when you're pulling it off and being gentle with it and hoping that you don't break anything, that's normal. So that's just something to mention as well. I'm trying to think of everything else. This board has been pretty impressive though overall. I mean, I wanted a few more USB fan headers as well. I needed them for something at some point, and this worked out quite well to plug them all in, and kind of set them up quite well. And oh yeah, so from other fans that I have on the system, and those worked out quite well overall. I mentioned the power, I think, with where all your power needs to be. You have two 8-pin CPU power if I didn't, and you have one 6-pin power over the PCI Express slot. So if I didn't mention that, or if my brain was thinking I mentioned it but I didn't mention it, just make sure your power supply is able to supply enough power. 180 watt CPU, you want to be able to do that. And you know, the Wi-Fi is great overall. You know, I'm using this to render videos, build software, and so I write software, and this can handle it quite well. It goes after it quite fast. I'll get some numbers out of the CPU and also the Vega chip here over the next couple weeks. I've been working on that, newborn baby and all, so that's been able to adjust to that as well. But I appreciate your patience with this, and overall I would recommend this board. So the reason why I would recommend it is that it solves a lot of the pain points I had, which was first off the ATX. One, I wanted it reliable, easy overclocking, and this memory was very easy to overclock. I hit 2900 on my Trident C in no time. So very impressed by it. I'm working on getting the 32, but I've removed everything to get it back to stock to finish some Threadripper testing. And I probably will also do some overclocking testing, maybe in a different video after that, but I want to make sure I get that testing done. You know, the layout of the board overall is quite well. The one thing I wish they would change would be put that PCI slot that's underneath the first X16 in between the second and third slots. So you kind of see, I like this one moved down to here. And the only reason why is that then, you know, as if I need 2 1s without having to plug into a 16, I can, unless I'm going to do more graphics cards. But, you know, and if you, we'll see how it works out, right? So if I get rid of and go full liquid cooling loop, it might be a little bit easier there as well. But those are just some things that I'm going through my head as I put this together. The battery's in a great location. I think it's right behind here by the back plate. So that worked out quite well. You know, you have all your slots, your SATA ports, and they're laid out in a nice configuration too that worked out quite well for this glass case to make it look nice and tidy. So they took their layout worked quite well in this case, and it just works. It's just a really, really good board. They made things a lot easier than what I thought they would. And with all the cores and all the threads and them fixing the BIOS timely and not waiting, you know, months upon months, or, you know, even a half a month, they had a testing BIOS working within days of people reporting this problem. I was very impressed with that. So me and using this board and how well it performs and the cooling of it, you know, I didn't get any specific temps off the VRMs. I needed another good instrument to be able to test like the external temps so I can actually see it rather than anything else. But I want to be able to do that at some point. But it keeps it cool. I've been able to, that heatsink keeps quite cool. Maybe that's my fan airflow as well with the fans and how I've set it up. But I've been very impressed with this board and how it performs with the Threadripper as well. So I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video and watch some other ones. And if you didn't get to see the unboxing of this board, go through and watch the unboxing of that as well. I'll leave that in the description below. And also leave a comment and leave them. I like to read them. It's way easier to read comments with a baby than it is to do a video and then she interrupts it. So with that, I want to thank you again for watching. Thanks for watching Gray Overload. If you like this content, be sure to subscribe.